Hi, my name is Holly Fregin, and I am compelled by Jesus' unconditional love and grace over my life. So I have dealt with depression and anxiety my whole life. I can just remember being a kid and just feeling so alone. I grew up going to church, but I very much was taught that God loved me based on how I showed up. And so I learned very young to be a performer. I learned how to show up and to pretend like everything was okay and to pretend like my pain wasn't there. And I found ways to cope with that. And so my eating disorder became a way that I could avoid feeling, that I could avoid not feeling good enough, all the pain that I was holding. And that took over for 10 years. And I couldn't go on anymore. Like the thought of having to pretend and to perform and to show up in that way was just too heavy. And I found myself in my mid-20s. I remember this night where I was just sitting in my apartment and I was at a breaking point. I was like, if this is what it is, if this is what life is, I don't want to live anymore. And I remember in that moment, sitting there in my apartment, I just felt this nudge. I can't even explain it. I don't think I knew what it was at the time, but it was just this nudge on my heart. It was this whisper that was just like, Holly, keep going. Don't give up on yourself. It was that seed of love that compelled me. And as I look back, even in that darkest moment, that nudge that I felt, that whisper that I felt to keep fighting was because God knew that there was this whole story ahead for me. And so much of what God has restored for me is giving me this new identity. I no longer have to be labeled as a woman who has anxiety and depression and eating disorder. I'm a woman who has overcome that with God's grace and God's love. For me to be able to sit in the room, I'm a therapist now, and to provide that hope, to remind people that in the darkest moment, there's an opportunity to be reborn, to be rebirthed into something that creates beauty and purpose. And that only comes from Jesus, and I never want to forget that it's through his love that I'm here. I'm loved simply because I'm chosen, not because of anything that I do. And that love continues to push me forward.